Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this video I'd like to take a look at Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities, which mainly comes from the Tochka-U. Ukraine does have drones, helicopters and attack aircraft, but really Ukraine's long-range strikes and potential to strike inside Russia comes from the Tochka-U. Ukraine has up to 90 Tochka-U launchers, and the CSIS says they have 500 missiles in service and has used them during the war, most notably striking Milarovo Air Base and also carrying a strike on landing ships at Berdyansk. Ukraine also has 50 Lunar M ballistic missile launchers, but these are in storage and need a long overhaul before they're ready for combat. So let's take a look at the Tochka. The first Tochka missiles entered service in 1975, carrying one of three types of warhead: 482 kilograms of high explosive, fragmentation or even nuclear. The original Tochka had a range of 15 to 70 kilometers and a CEP, circular error probable, of 150 meters. More on CEP soon. In 1989, the Tochka-U variant was introduced. This variant had a number of improvements over the original, and it is this which Ukraine operates. Compared to some ballistic missiles, it has a relatively short range, only up to 120 kilometers. It has an improved circular error probable CEP of between 75 to 95 meters. Now, I had no idea what a CEP was when I started researching the Tochka-U, so I had to take a dive into that too. It's quite complicated and featured a lot of complicated sums and equations which all went well over my head. It was also difficult to find a dumbed down explanation for me, and the videos on YouTube were basically robotic auto voiceovers repeating what was on Wikipedia, which already went well over my head. I barely understood it at all, but I managed to piece enough together so I kind of vaguely understand what it means. So it can basically be summed up as the radius of a circle where the probability of an impact point being inside is 50% of the rounds. So a missile with 100 meters CEP, when 100 munitions are fired at the same point, 50 will fall within a circle of 100 meters around their impact point. For example here, if the CEP of a missile or rocket is 1,000 meters or 1 kilometer, then we can say if we aim our missile at a given target, such as an ammo depot or an air base, then there's a 50% chance that the missile will fall within 1,000 meters of it. So with the Tochka-U and its CEP of 75 to 95 meters, there's a 50% chance that the missile will hit within that range. So basically, the lower CEP a missile or weapon or rocket has, the more accurate it is. This little diagram here visualizes it for the Excalibur guided shell, the M549A1 shell and the M107 at various ranges. So is the Tochka-U and its CEP of 75 to 95 meters good? For this, I checked other ballistic missiles to compare it to. The Scud missile has a CEP of a whopping 1 kilometer at 300 kilometers range. The predecessor of the Tochka, the Lunar M, had a CEP of 400 meters. The newer Iskander, which is the replacement for the Tochka, has a CEP of 5 to 7 meters with optical homing and 30 to 70 meters in autonomous use. The OTR-23 Oka has a CEP of 30 to 150 meters. And for a US example, Trident II has a CEP of 90 meters and Minuteman has a CEP of 200 meters with its original guidance system and 120 meters with its improved one. So comparing to those missiles, you can see Tochka-U is quite accurate. There's some which are more accurate some which are worse, but its accuracy is overall pretty good. This was demonstrated in the missile attack on Milerovo, which struck its target, and the strike at Berdyansk Air Base, where it hit its target bang on. The Tochka-U uses inertial guidance, which is why its CEP is lower than the original Tochka. The Tochka-U is road-launched. The missile is carried and launched from a Baz 5921 TEL launcher. In the Tochka-U variant, the TEL vehicle is amphibious. The TEL launcher also has a road speed of 60 km an hour. The vehicle has a crew of 3 and each one carries a single missile. So it's also quite a speedy system. The TEL vehicle can be ready for launch in just 16 minutes, launch a missile in 2 minutes, and be reloaded in 20. The missile itself is carried inside the vehicle. To prepare for launch, roof doors are opened before the missile is raised to its firing angle of 78 degrees. This process takes just 15 seconds. The Tochka system was designed to carry out tactical strikes on important positions, such as missile launch pads, airfields, command posts, artillery batteries, that sort of thing. So let's look at the technical details of the missile itself. So let's take a little look at the missile itself. Tochka-U, or the 9M791 missile, has wings located slightly further forward than on the original design. It has a length of 6.4 meters and a launch weight of 2010 kg. Once fired, the missile can travel at 1.8 kilometers a second, or Mach 5.3, so it's very fast. And it's proven its worth in Ukraine. On February the 24th, 2 Tochka-Us hit Russia's Milerovo Air Base, destroying at least one Su-30SM. On 24th of March, the large Alligator-class landing ship Saratov was destroyed, likely by a Tochka-U missile. So why haven't more attacks by the Tochka-U been used on Russia targets? Well, the simple answer is, for as accurate as the missile is and as useful, it lacks range. I have used 2 large Ukrainian cities close to the border as possible firing points. The missile's range will of course be a bit longer or a bit shorter and vary depending on just where the missiles are located and fired from. But for the sake of the video, I am using Kharkiv and Sumy as examples. So from Kharkiv we can see that it doesn't offer much in the way of juicy targets in Russian territory. The biggest settlement within range is Belgorod. There is an oil depot there and we have seen footage of a claimed helicopter attack there. But it isn't home to any substantial military targets such as airfields. Targets from Sumy, however, we can see that the missile can almost reach Kursk. Targets within range are a military base called Voiskovoy Chast 3527, not much info about this, which is located just outside Kursk. Kursk itself is just outside the range of missiles potentially based in Sumy, but if launched from further north, they could feasibly hit a military residence called Voiskovaya Chast 11262. Most interestingly, it could also potentially bring Kursk Airport within range. This is home to the 14th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment, equipped with Su-30s. However, there is a stumbling block. To hit Kursk Airport would require putting the Tochkas closer to the border. This would be very high risk. Tochkas and other land-based ballistic missile systems are usually operated away from the front. They're likely to be fired far back from the front lines, which of course limits their effective range. Which brings us to the need to arm Ukraine with long-range strike capabilities. As seen, Tochka-U just lacks the range needed to adequately strike at military targets within Russia. However, if Ukraine was given, say, HIMARS, which can launch projectiles up to 300 kilometers, things would be a little bit different. This brings Kursk Air Base, which we mentioned, well within range. HIMARS would even be able to strike Voronezh Air Base. This is home to the 47th Composite Guards Aviation Regiment, equipped with Su-34s, not to mention the coverage HIMARS would provide throughout other parts of Ukraine. As we can see on the little map here, position a HIMARS in Kharkiv or Kharkiv region, and it has a very extensive range and would be able to hit a variety of targets within Ukraine or the Russian-occupied territories. But at the moment, there isn't confirmation yet that HIMARS is on its way. But if HIMARS was sent, you can see what an asset it would be given its long range compared to the Tochka-U. The Tochka-U is a good weapon and a good useful weapon, and Ukraine has used it well during the war. It's accurate, carries a high payload, can cause a lot of damage, is easy to use, is quick to use, but it just lacks that little bit of range which is needed to hit key military targets within Russia itself. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, I'd love to read them. Thanks for listening and take care everyone.